Okay, we are recording and I am starting the webinar. And the attendees are beginning to file into the meeting. For those of you who may be watching, we've just opened up the webinar function and we're giving just a minute for the attendees to enter into the meeting. I will mention to those of you who would like to comment tonight that if you would please go to the Q&A box, which you can find at the bottom of your navigation bar. If you would enter your name and address into the Q&A box, we will use that as a cue to deliver comment to the board. And I will call on speakers who are waiting to be heard.
Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 25th. This is the Guilford Board of Education, Guilford, Connecticut. This is the second of two nights of a public forum on the budget. This is an opportunity for members of the Guilford community to address the Board of Education with comments, questions, considerations for the board as we pour over the proposed budget for the school year 2022-2023 that has been brought forward by our superintendent, Dr. Freeman. Some of you may be watching on YouTube, but others of you may have joined us for the Zoom, again, because you're interested in speaking to the board. Dr. Freeman just noted that those who are interested should put their name and address in the Q&A box, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. We will invite people in one at a time. In order to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak who is interested, I will ask that you keep your comments to at most 4 minutes. And we do have someone who's going to be assisting me with keeping track of that time. So if you are getting close to 4 minutes, I am going to make you aware of that. We really, again, want to make sure that everyone interested in speaking to us has that opportunity. The last thing I'll say is that for those interested, the proposed draft budget is on the Guilford Public Schools website. If you have not yet seen that, we certainly invite you to take a look. As we head into this evening, I do want to briefly take a moment to ask any of my colleagues if they have received communications from the community that from people who were unable to attend tonight, if they want to quickly note those so that the public is aware of things we may be hearing from the community, but because it's coming in via email or other communication, they may not know. Is there anyone who would like to share anything? Hi, go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you. I received a phone call in favor of adding funding for girls swim and for hockey, and iterating some of the numbers on how much each family has to pay to have their students participate in those two sports. I also spoke with someone who is concerned about the 2.5 teachers for the Guilford High School Mastery Class program. His concern is that we're going to force students to have to drop an elective, a chorus, or perhaps a tech class to be able to complete that requirement. And his concern was that will result in class sizes for specials kind of shrinking to a point that we can no longer have them. I also received emails regarding the playground over at Jones and a recommendation that we have a preschool administrator rather than an assistant principal at the elementary schools. That's it for me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who received other communications that they just want to make sure the board and the public are aware of. Go ahead, Moira.
Just to reiterate what Kristen said, I did too hear from parents of the girls swim and some of the hockey team. So they're happy to see those lines in the budget and hope they'll be protected. I received some other questions regarding the assistant principal position and having a better understanding if that is genuinely going to be dispersed among the 4 elementaries or if it really will be a primary position at Lakes. There's just some, want some clarification on that. And the last thing is not a budget related thing, but is with regards to the mask mandate, but that's not a budget item. So we can talk about it another time.
Terrific. Dr. Freeman, do you, if you have a clarification or a comment on any of these, I can ask now or wait till all board members report. What would you prefer?
Oh, I could really briefly just say that the elementary principal position is proposed to be primarily housed at Lakes, which would encompass the preschool program. The preschool program, only involves 3 classes. The assistant principal position would be there associated with that program, but also the rest of Lakes Elementary School. While it would be primarily stationed there at Lakes, it would be available as a backup should one of the other elementary principals need to be out of school for an extended period of time. So it would be a Lakes position, but it would be available to support the other schools periodically or infrequently. It's primarily a Lakes recommendation.
Excellent. I feel like I saw another hand up. Oh, go ahead, Christy.
Similar to what was shared earlier, I've also heard some communications just in favor of the bonding line for the Guilford Lakes playground. And then I did hear from a parent who just shared similar concerns about the mastery course. I think there are some students that are losing study halls that they depend on, and just some concerns that, it might be something that if was looked at again, might be woven into other courses that already exist that could offer opportunities for group work.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I will note one communication that I received in appreciation that the music position, for which a half was taken out of the budget last year, and at that time another half was proposed for this year, is not taken out in the draft proposal. So appreciation for that. And the same communication identified that while there is this year a larger increase than there has been in the past, I'll read it to make sure I say it correctly. We are aware that given the large proposed increase, there will be pressure to trim the budget, but we agree with Dr. Freeman that now is not the time to reduce spending on our students. We continue to believe that it is in our district's best interest to strongly support our flagship music program through this rebuilding phase. So that came from the GHS Music Boosters Board. All right. Now I want to give the opportunity for those who have appeared at this meeting for public comment to do that. So I'm going to ask Dr. Freeman to let in or announce the first person.
Yep, we have Larry Rizzolo who's waiting to comment, and we have a few other speakers lined up behind him.
Terrific. Hi, Larry, welcome.
Hi, thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
It's kind of a tricky one, but with high inflation right now, and who knows if it'll be high when this budget actually goes into force, I'm curious what elements of the budget are sensitive to inflationary pressure. Is there any for example, is there any inflation clause in the salary contracts that you have? And considering those elements that are sensitive to pressure, what percentage of the budget is subject to that?
So the budget that we decide on we'll keep those numbers fixed. And the contracts that we negotiate with many of our, well, with all of our bargaining units, do not adjust or for inflation once the contract has been negotiated, right? So that what is written at that time is as it is. I'm going to turn to Dr. Freeman for whatever additional information he might want to add.
Yeah, and I may pass it further to Mrs. Trudeau, but I'll start. So, the single largest portion of our budget, Dr. Balistraci mentions frequently, salaries account for about 60% of our budget. Those figures are fixed and those will not increase once we move the budget forward. So there isn't an inflation adjustment to those negotiated contracts. There are other elements of the budget that are being impacted, have already been impacted by inflation, and those are some of the reasons for the high number that we're at. Line items like fuel, energy, some of our service contracts have all been impacted already by that inflation rate, and that's why we're sort of at the level we're at. Once the budget is set finally by the Board of Finance and then voted on by the taxpayers, if there continues to be inflationary impact over the course of the school year, we would be responsible to make adjustments within the budget to absorb those increases. Every year, we make adjustments within the budget to absorb increases in certain areas, sometimes by freezing spending in other areas to offset those increases. The worst case scenario would be that the Board of Ed would have to return to the Board of Finance to request a supplemental appropriation of additional dollars if we feel that we can't meet the costs that we are incurring under the budget that has been approved. Even during the most challenging times during the economic collapse and in these last couple of pandemic years, we have been able to manage within our existing budget and have not gone back to ask for such a special appropriation. Linda, would you want to add anything to that, or do you think that Dr. Balistraci and I have about answered that?
I think you both have covered it very well.
Great, and if I could follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
So you've prepared for a worst case scenario, as I understand that. Do you get to keep the money if inflation's very low? And then I'll ask the second part of it. Yeah.
Any money that is unspent by the Board of Education at the end of the year, and once encumbrances, invoices, expenditures have all been settled, that money goes back to the town.
I see. And the last,
if I can just to clarify a little bit more, Larry,
Yeah,
and this budget, this budget is not, it doesn't have a lot of contingencies built into it. It's not built as a worst case scenario. It's built on actual cost projections that we've received from vendors and suppliers. So we're not expecting the sky to fall, and we're not creating contingencies for that. It's just that many of our renewals and cost projections have come in higher because of the level of inflation that vendors and contractors are already experiencing or projecting.
I see. And then the last follow-up question, or is more a comment. As a taxpayer, it's nice to know that salaries are fixed, but as a person, if inflation were to be fly, your most valuable asset are your people. And to compensate them in the form of a bonus or something like that, I would rather see that and sacrifice some piece of equipment and defer that if that were the trade-off. And that said, I would certainly preserve the line item for the coach, because I think that's a very important addition that you've made to the budget.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
One comment that one of the big drivers of the increase this year is the increase in cost of medical that is higher than it has been over the last 5 years, which adds to why the budget has increased.
Mm-hmm.
And I do appreciate the other comments. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Dr. Balistraci, we have an Eric Haskell who's also waiting to comment.
Hi, my name's Eric Haskell. I think that my question was not appropriate for a budget meeting. I thought it's I was going to talk about start times from school, but I think that's not appropriate for this meeting.
Eric, you're welcome to email me directly. I'm happy to have that conversation with you by phone or Zoom or through email.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay.
We also have Meg who is waiting to comment. Meg Teep.
As Meg is coming on, there's a question in the chat. How do we queue up? So if you are interested in addressing the board tonight, please put your name and address in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Dr. Freeman is welcoming people into the meeting one at a time in the order that they appear in that queue. Hi, Meg, how are you?
Hi, good. Thank
Welcome.
you. Thanks for having me speak. Thank you for this thoughtful budget, which I would like to express my general support of. I trust that the district and town are going to do all that is possible to address the medical cost increase, as you were speaking of, and help alleviate that potential impact downstream. But it is critical during these unprecedented times that we as a community come together in support of our kids, as this generation of students will continue to bear the brunt of the pandemic impact in ways we can hardly imagine. To that end, the investment items for the budget do show prioritization of the needs of students in classrooms, and in particular, the teachers, the special education teacher, and the social worker are critical to address the academic success and the well-being of our students. I would ask that the administration and BOE do continue to look ahead in years to come to advance the critical work of social justice and equity initiatives in our school system and broaden that work to include the elementary schools. I would also ask that the district ensures that pupil services, including special education and related services generally, is evaluated for excellence and the successful outcomes of students and not just in efficiency gains year to year. This is clearly an area that is under increased pressure due to the pandemic and no doubt will have increased demand in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have Jennifer Scoggin who is waiting to comment.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I thank you for your transparency on the budget and all of your, particularly the continued commitment to teachers and all of the hard work that they're doing. But in particular, in support of this budget, I really appreciate the board's commitment to being responsive to evolving social, emotional, and academic needs. And showing that willingness to be responsive in the budget, particularly in the form of the elementary assistant principal, the additional classroom teachers, the additional social worker. I think all of that reflects the commitment that you made to social justice, equity, and social emotional learning work in our schools. I think a natural next step for us after we support and pass this budget is and something I'd like to see in future budgets is an even larger emphasis on this work, particularly in the K through 6 realm, in items such as potentially diversifying school and classroom libraries or doing audits of those resources, which are already lovely, but to see how we can build upon those strengths, looking at how we might better support or additionally support teachers. We've got some STEM coaches and ELA and math coaches, but how can we support teachers in navigating some of those really difficult conversations with our students who are willing and able to have those conversations, as was illustrated by the alumni of our schools, an appreciation of the strong academic work that happens, but noticing this gap that they felt for themselves and what we can do in the K-12 experience to address some of that work.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Craig Canapari who's waiting to comment.
Hey guys, I'm joining you from an undisclosed location.
Hi, Craig.
I just wanted to say quickly, first of all, I appreciate what you guys are have done. I think it's quite a lean budget given the economic circumstances we find ourselves in, and I know this is something that you work very hard on. I actually appreciate that my friend Eric Haskell commented before. I thought it maybe wasn't appropriate for a budget meeting, but I just wanted to say that I look forward to work with you guys over the next year to revisit the idea of start times. Early start times remain an issue in our district, and when we worked on this way back in 2018, we got about 15 minutes in a cost neutral fashion with the idea that we were going to get another 15 or 20 minutes in the future. And obviously a lot of circumstances have intervened where we haven't been able to do that. But as in many districts, mental health issues remain a prominent concern for children and their families. And we know that sleep deprivation does not directly cause anxiety or depression. Chronic sleep deprivation clearly worsens these issues. And there really has been continued research demonstrating the efficacy of later school start times in helping teenagers get more sleep with clear academic and mental health benefits. I just wanted, I guess, more of a statement, but I look forward to meeting with Paul and continuing to move this issue forward. So thank you very much for your advocacy on behalf of our students.
Dr. Kenapari, did you share your address in with your comment?
Oh my God. Yeah, I shall. I'll put it in the comment right now. But I will, I don't know how to make myself disappear.
Kevin will excuse you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And I see Alexa Miller, and if I could remind Alexa to begin her comment with her address as well.
Terrific, thank you.
I apologize, the address is there now.
Okay. Hi, Alexa, welcome. Oh, you're on mute.
I apologize. Can you hear me now? Nice to see you all.
I can, thank you.
I just wanted to echo the comments of Jen Scoggin and Meg Teep made previously. I won't reiterate everything, but I want to thank you so much for your support of teachers and kids and your continued responsiveness to social issues and their preparation really to be global citizens in the future economy, which is so uncertain and undoubtedly global and diverse. I'm quite concerned about the impact of the pandemic on their long-term learning trajectories. And so I'm just so thankful for all that's included in the budget. And I just want to ask the board to continue with the great work that's being done, especially in the areas of supporting their ability to participate in the world as global citizens and informed as to our history and able to have regenerative conversations and participate in social justice as well as academically. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, thank you.
I apologize, I was muted. Dr. Balistraci, I'm not seeing anybody else in the queue right now. We do still have a number of attendees in the meeting. If you would like to comment, please go to the Q&A box and enter your name and address, and we will call on you. And I see Joanna Meyer has just entered her name and address. Mr. Mitchell will invite Joanna into the meeting.
All right, I think you can hear me now, yes?
Yes, hi Joanna, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much. Thanks so much for sharing this budget. I agree with previous comments that it is really strives to be a complete but lean budget in this complex time. And I appreciate the way that the Board of Education continues to support our educators and hope that the board will continue to do that, as other folks have mentioned. We live in a world that really is evolving all the time. And our kids are facing a lot of big questions, and they really need the support of the schools and the school personnel to be willing to explore difficult topics with them. And I think that when we think about teachers who are humans too, and who are evolving and growing with their students and growing in their comfort levels to discuss some of these topics that perhaps earlier in their careers were, more behind the scenes. I think it's really important to provide those opportunities for teachers to work together and grow and learn together. And so I do hope that the district will continue that work in the form of professional development and other opportunities. I was glad to see some of that in the budget, and I hope that in future years, the district will continue to include that, and the Board of Education will continue to support it. So I thank you all for your work on this budget, and am looking forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you. And I see Christine Macaluso, who's waiting to comment.
Hi, Christine, welcome.
Hello. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I just wanted to say that working in the public health field myself, I think you've done a great job adjusting safety during this challenging pandemic. And I just wanted to join the speakers before me in saying that I am in support of this budget and appreciate the fact that you support students and teachers. And I hope in the future to see a continued social justice initiative. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have Gabe Mongelli who is looking to comment, and Gabe, will just need to ask that you share your address. And we'll remind everybody else, if you're looking to comment, please enter your name and address into the Q&A box so that we can call on you.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Gabe Mongelli. I'm a junior at Guilford High School and a third-year player on the Guilford boys ice hockey team. Today, me and my co-presenter, Sean Mcsweep, and I are speaking on behalf of Coach Russo, Coach Graves, our 24 teammates on the boys ice hockey team, and the countless parents and friends that have made our team possible. I know many of you are aware of our current funding situation, but today we were here to describe our experiences with the sport and what's kind of made it great for us. Since I started playing hockey at 10 years old, I've developed friendships with many kids from many different towns along the shoreline. And schools like Brantford, Han, Sheehan, East Haven, West Haven, North Brantford. But, the major difference between our programs and those nearby Southern Connecticut Conference teams is the amount of fundraisers that we have to do to keep our team active. And so, this summer and fall alone, we had 5 car washes, 5 bake sales, a mum sale and a poinsettia sale, as well as a big game day program advertising sale campaign. Other GHS sports, as well as other ICC ice hockey teams, as I mentioned to you before, maybe do 2 or 3 fundraisers a year max, and that's to make money for senior nights and team clothing, the fun stuff. But 13 fundraisers in 6 months is a lot for parents, coaches, and student athletes to handle and manage. And while I love my teammates and all the time we get to spend together is enjoyable, 13 fundraisers is a lot. Now I'm going to turn it over to my friend and teammate, Sean Mcsweep.
Hi, I'm Sean Mcsweep. I'm a junior at Guilford High School as well, and my perspective is a little bit different. I just started playing hockey this year at Guilford High School, and I joined the hockey team because some of my friends have been playing, and I've been interested in the sport for a while. I was almost turned away from this opportunity because of the costs, the $1,600 due that I had to pay. And I had to convince my parents to help me out with that. And high school is the last place for many people to have an opportunity to be a part of a team and to make friendships like I have. An example of another person who did this is Kyle Dwyer in 2014. He was a goalie who had never skated before, and his freshman year, he decided to play hockey. His senior year, they won a state championship. We all don't have to win a state championship to have many lessons and friendships, but those lessons and friendships are still present without. Hockey is very popular in Connecticut, and I think GHS would have more kids in the hockey program to create maybe a JV or freshman team, as well as a varsity team that is already here. Everyone should have the opportunity to play this sport and the freedom to step out of their comfort zone, not just the ones who can't pay the $1,600 due. Thank you.
Adding on to what
Thank
Sean
you.
said, so I'm Alexandra Glaskoff. I'm also a junior at GHS. And so I'm speaking on behalf of the girls ice hockey team. And I understand that we have opportunities to fundraise and lower our tuition, but it's just like as high school students, we already have so many things to do. Like we have homework, we have to deal with all like our other sports that we're playing, and just like add so much more stress onto our plate when we're trying to juggle, like trying to lower the tuition. And also like the girls ice hockey team, we only have 17 players this year. And so the tuition really like discourages a lot of students from joining the team. And, you know, it just, we're really close to like co-oping. And I think it's just, ice hockey is such a great sport, and this tuition really just makes a lot of students like lose the opportunity to experience such a great sport to play. So.
Thank you. Thank you all
Thank you guys.
for coming in and presenting to us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
No problem.
Thank you. Clarice Yasuhara is waiting to comment.
Hi, good
Hi,
evening.
Clarice, welcome.
Thank you. I was just wanted to comment on the social justice item. I want to encourage that we continue on this track. It has been very important, very impactful to my family and to many others in the community. So, and as has been said before, I would like to see those programs come down to the elementary school. I think it is vital and important for kids to know the realities of what some of us experience. And I also want to just take a moment to say that I'm very thankful for everybody, the administration and the staff and faculty, and especially, you know, some of the people that might get overlooked. You know, I still remember at the very start of the pandemic when the janitors, the cleaning staff was doing an amazing job, you know, coming in on Wednesdays and disinfecting everything and making it possible for everybody to have a safe environment based on what we knew at the time. And, you know, I think they deserve some credit for what they do and they continue to do. And, you know, as also the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers, given how much shortage in staffing there has been in those fields, you know, I think they deserve a little recognition too. So I just want to make sure that they get recognized and don't get the short end of the stick on the budget passes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. Balistraci, there is nobody else waiting in the queue to comment at this time. Again, if you would like to share a comment with the board, please just enter your name and address in the Q&A box, and we will invite you into the meeting to speak with the board. And I see nobody else. Oh, I spoke too soon. Jessica Harrington is waiting to comment, please.
Should be coming in now.
Oh, here we go. Wonderful. Hi, Jessica. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to quickly say hello and let you know that I'm here in complete support of the budget. I wanted to thank you for coming up with a whole community approach from what I see in my review of the budget. I'm excited to see the investments that the board has decided to make for special education. That's definitely needed. Continued social justice work and culturally responsive training is definitely a need. And of course, the support that our teachers are looking for. So thank you. I think to be fair, this is just the beginning. It's an important budget. I'm glad to be able to support it. And I look forward to seeing what more we can do in the future when it comes to these important investments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, we have nobody waiting in the queue.
Okay, I'm going to extend an invitation one more time to anyone who would be interested in commenting to the board this evening. And if there is no one else who is interested, I am going to then turn to my colleagues. We individually have been poring over our budget books. We will be having meetings in the future to hold more discussions. I am seeing someone in the chat. If you are interested in coming to the board, I'm going to ask you to put your name and address in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and then Dr. Freeman and Kevin Mitchell can let you in.
Yep, and I do see one person there. Erin Ethier is looking to comment now and remind people who may be entering names into the chat function to please use the Q&A. So it looks like we may have a couple more commenters.
Wonderful. Hi, Erin, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Just wanted to express appreciation for all that you are doing and all of our wonderful faculty and administrators and staff. And thank you for putting forth this budget. And I'm coming tonight. I know it is a bonded item, and here we are discussing the operating budget, but to express gratitude on behalf of the Guilford Lakes community for the inclusion of the all-district preschool as a bonded item. I wanted to give you a brief update that we have wonderful community support for the Big Kids Playground and have raised over $100,000 to contribute as the cost share for that at this time, and appreciate that you recognize the value in having the all-district preschool playground done at the exact same time as our playground. It's more cost-effective, it's equitable for the entire school to have a full playground renovation at the same time. And we look forward to coming back, the committee, and having a more in-depth presentation to the board at a nearby date. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you. And we have Christine Ford waiting to comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Erin.
Hi, Christine. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Sorry, I wasn't sure I could make it tonight, so I'm not fully prepared, but just wanted to take the opportunity to say a huge thank you to everybody on the board and to Dr. Freeman just for all the great work that's gone into this budget, and also to the entire, teachers, administrators, and everyone. Just the past few years, I guess, have been so challenging, and I think as a town and community, we've pulled through so well, and I think that's because we have such wonderful leadership. So just wanted to first say that and echo that sentiment. And then secondly, just to say that I think the budget sounds really well, really thoughtful and really well researched. I love the focus on social and emotional health and wellness. I think we need that more than ever right now. And then also, as you would probably expect from me, just echoing the other sentiments about the social justice initiative and the curricular audit. I think, I know the other night's presentation was postponed, so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. But I think it's going to be really impactful work in the upper grades, and I can't wait to see it brought down through the elementary schools, as Clarice was saying too. So really support that continued focus and growth in that area. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
I will take the opportunity for the viewing public that is watching. Very unfortunate, we had to cancel in real time the 6 o'clock curriculum instruction assessment meeting yesterday. We are literally expecting that we may be able to reschedule it within the next week or two. So please keep an eye out on messages from Guilford Public Schools. We are already working on rescheduling that, and we may be able to do it really quickly. Is there anybody else, Dr. Freeman, who's in the Q&A waiting for us at this time?
There's nobody else. There's nobody in the queue at this time.
Okay, I'm going to pause a minute and just give anyone who's been on the fence and thinking maybe I'll speak, maybe I won't, an opportunity to put their name and address in the Q&A if they're interested. Do we have any additions to that Q&A before I move on?
I see Polly Reeder.
We do. Yes, we have Polly Reeder in the queue. Thank you.
Hi, Polly, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to say I appreciate very much the work and the expertise that's been put into the budget. It's a variety of really great ideas, and I think great additions, and I desperately hope that none of them are cut as we go forward. And I especially very much support continuing the equity work, and the STEM coaching is a great add. I wanted to say that I think over the last 2 years, I really strongly applaud the district's leadership and the board in moving more actively, more progressively to do the right thing, as we've seen with the, after decades changing the mascot and the more actively addressing social justice and equity issues. And I don't think I'm alone in that. But those are not simple things. Those are not easy things, and they continue. I do think that we need to come back to, as was intended before the pandemic, and also the complex issue of start times. This is an item that, an area where the science just could not be more blatant or more pervasive, really, in terms of the benefits. And I think many of us are aware that the American Academy of Pediatrics says that all middle school, all high schools should not start until at least 8:30. Well, that's not true for Guilford grades 5 and up. And we've got, physical health, mental health, increased academic performance, increased athletic performance, less auto accidents, a litany of things that those of us who are around or, was really covered in the town prior to 2017 and in 2018. So along with that, and, then in 2017, we have the Journal of Adolescent Health, published, documented right there with amongst the Connecticut districts, how Guilford stacks up really, really high with our exorbitant suicide and suicide attempt rate. And the board has been phenomenal in the district in really prioritizing social and emotional health and mental health even more highly after that. But when I just look at, it may be too far along at this point, of course, but there's still a lot of time before fall of 2022. And we have, when push has come to shove, it has been absolutely amazing. And not just the, working 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, but the flexibility and the making changes in the pedagogy and in the schedule. So I think the changing of the school schedule used to be a complete aberration, and many people were just, couldn't conceptualize it years ago. Now it's a norm. It's a norm for parents. It's a norm for admin, for teachers. And we never know what's going to happen next with the pandemic. So I just think that I'm very hopeful. I'm still very optimistic that sooner rather than later, we can make some more progress for the mental, the physical, the academic outcomes, et cetera, for our students on the start time.
All right.
I think that with concessions, it may not have the full dollar impact possibly that's been put on it, the ticket price that's put on it under different scenarios. With concessions are made across the board here and there, it could possibly be done in other ways.
Thank you, Polly. I'm going to ask you to wrap up, but thank you so much for coming.
That is it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Once again, we are at the end of the queue unless somebody would like to enter their name and address into the Q&A box to be invited in to comment to the board.
All right. Seeing no additions, we have a little thank you from the Guilford hockey team. Thank you for coming to us. I do want to, we have a little bit of time. Again, as I noted, each of us individually has been spending time with our budget books, thinking about things, looking at things. We've heard from members of the public last night and tonight, as well as some communications via email or phone. Give my colleagues an opportunity, as you have been individually doing this work. Do you have questions for Dr. Freeman or any of the administration? Go ahead, Moira.
Thank you, Katie. This is just something I've gotten a few texts while we've just been in this meeting, folks watching the meeting. And this is actually something I've been questioning myself as a parent at the high school, just to get more information about the mastery level teachers. I know we budgeted for 2, and there's just a lot of questions about the overall program. I know tonight they're having the sophomore to junior transition Zoom meeting with parents, and this is being introduced to them as well. And I think I know there's concern with constituents. People have reached out to me asking, what are the alternatives? If this is something that has to come out of the budget, hypothetically, how would that be met, that requirement be met? And do we have the capability to manage that without these additional teachers? We talk about non-negotiables like salaries and benefits, but is this one of those categories that could be really concerning if it was cut?
So I appreciate the question, and I'm happy to speak to that. I'll start by reminding the board and the audience that this is a new graduation requirement, and it is a requirement of 1 credit. And so, to comment earlier about how this will compete with other electives courses, that is true. This is a 1 credit requirement that every student will have to complete before they can graduate. And so that does mean that it could compete with other choices. Now, we don't have a ceiling on the number of credits that students can carry. We often have students who graduate Guilford High School with far more credits than they need in order to graduate, right? The controlling variable day there are the number of periods in a school day. When this does become a scheduled course, as we have discussed, it does then fill one of those slots. I want to add on to that we do see that as an important feature. We could offer it as simply an additional expectation that students must complete. Similar, I guess, to the way that we view community service. Community service is an expectation that everyone needs to complete. They log their hours, they do it outside of the school day. I want to share that we have some concerns around structuring it in that way for the social and emotional well-being of our students, right? We are a very high achieving high school. Attendance at a high achieving high school is now identified as a risk factor for students when you talk about anxiety, depression, and other mental health concerns. So we believe that in some way, by embedding it into the school day and embedding it into the schedule, we're helping to protect the students from themselves. Now, we know that we have a really rich catalog of electives. I take really a great amount of pride in the fact that the students can't do everything they want to do at Guilford High School because there are so many really great choices. I would hate to say that we had fewer choices so that the students were able to, right? There are forced choices that have to be made, but that's a good thing. But that's because of the richness of the program that we provide. By building it into a course, we feel that we are providing the greatest level of structure and support for the students to be able to experience it and be successful. That's not to say it is the only way to do it. We could structure it in other ways. It could be structured in a way that it stands outside of the schedule, and maybe time is made available through the advisory program. Now, other schools are doing that, but other schools have advisory programs that meet weekly. Some schools have advisory programs that meet daily. At Guilford High School, our advisory program currently does not meet that frequently. We could do it with teachers who are afforded a stipend and they all work with students as advisors, and then the students essentially do it independently, but with support from teachers in that advisory fashion. The stipends that we provide there would be less of a financial impact than the positions that we've put forward. We're proposing the 2.4 full-time equivalents to provide the course structure because we do believe that in the long run, that is going to be the most supportive and the best way of approaching this. This is a requirement from the state. It aligns very much with our philosophy. It encourages students to show their mastery in a project-based way. In many ways, it becomes a capstone of their 13 years of experience in the school district. But it is important to note we're not bringing it forward in the midst of a pandemic in a really challenging budget year of ourselves. We're doing it because it is a requirement. It will be required for the graduates of next year. We just happen to be proud of the way that we're proposing it. It doesn't mean that there aren't other ways to do it, and we can have more conversation about how we do it moving forward.
Thank you for explaining that.
And I'm sure that Ms. Chaff will be in further deliberations, and she's much, much closer to this than I am.
Christy, go ahead.
Just tailing on. So with your suggestion, Paul, then of having teachers potentially as advisors with a stipend involved, would that then alleviate the requirement of kids to miss out on that elective session? Like, how would you envision that working? Would that be an occasional check-in so that they would have that extra time freed up, or?
It could, yeah, it could take a number of those designs. It could be that it is completely outside of the school day, that the students are expected to do it at their time, but that there's an advisor in the school, and depending on the number of stipends that we provide, a teacher would have a number of students that he or she were supporting and checking in with them periodically on how they do the outside time. It could also be paired with other suggestions like time committed out of the junior or senior advisory program. where there was time to pick that up. That would all need to be sort of designed out by the high school administrative team. I'm suggesting things that I know other schools have looked at. I'm not making the nuts and bolts proposal or schedule that the high school administration would put that together.
Are there other board members with questions for the administration this evening? Okay, I am seeing none at this time. So let me just talk through a couple of the next steps of this process. We have on the books a special board meeting, I believe for February 7th for deliberation on the budget. We as a board may choose to add one or more special meetings between now and then, which would allow us as a board to discuss, continue discussions or add extra discussion time around this budget. We have until our regular Board of Ed meeting on February 14th to finally vote on a budget proposal that we would then send to the Board of Finance for consideration. The Board of Finance will also receive the proposed budget from the town side, from the Board of Selectmen. And then they will start a process of consideration, which will include a public forum as well. So we encourage our community to keep apprised of all those opportunities as we move forward. If you were unable, well, this sounds silly, if you were unable to attend tonight, then you are not in attendance. If you are seeing this on YouTube after this evening, or you know others who are interested in approaching us, or you think of a question tomorrow night that you didn't have tonight, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, we will be deliberating about this budget for at least the next couple of weeks, and there will be opportunities for us to consider your comments. Dr. Freeman, did you have any other kind of closing thoughts at this time?
No, not big thoughts. I did wonder if there were any questions about the capital budget as well as the operations budget. There were a few comments tonight about the playground component at Lakes, the district-wide pre-K playground. There are other items on the capital budget. I just wanted to remind board members that we could respond to questions on that portion of the budget as well as the operations budget if there's any interest in doing so.
Wonderful. Are there questions? Do any of my colleagues have questions about that part of the budget at this moment? Okay.
We can also, it's not unusual to have conversation about those components during the operations committee meeting that will happen prior to the next regular board meeting where there will be some budget conversation as well.
Excellent. All right. And then I also, as each member is individually looking at the budget, if further questions come up before our next meeting, please forward them to me. I will get them to the administration, and then we will make those answers available to you and to the public as those get answered by the administration.
I believe there are 23 or 24 written responses. I think we're up to 23 or 24 written responses to questions. We're happy to continue to respond in that way.
Okay. Terrific. And the only thing I'm going to note is among the comments we heard tonight, I did hear a number of community members share their appreciation for our teachers, for our staff, for staff across the board in various departments. And I really just want to echo that and send my appreciation to the community who is recognizing the job that our teachers and our staff do and the particular challenge over the last 2 years that teaching has and teaching and running school systems has been put under due to the pandemic. So just noting the number of commenters who mentioned that and sharing my appreciation for that.
And Dr. Balistraci, if I may, under the category of shameless pitch, on our website, there is a new gratitude wall that has been added that I know teachers have enjoyed looking at. If you haven't visited the gratitude wall, I'd encourage you to please take a look. If you're having a tough day, it is definitely a pick-me-up, and it is a place where you can share an expression of gratitude for anybody in our school system. We heard thanks for custodians tonight, food service workers as well as teachers. And so very much appreciated. And I'd encourage people to take a look at that gratitude wall. It's been a really fun new feature on the website in the last few weeks.
Wonderful. All right. Yes, go ahead, Christy.
Just one quick clarification in your question. I might have missed it earlier on. Do we have currently an update? I know there was a little bit of confusion with the public with our meetings. Some were not aware that we had gone remote. Do we have an update just for the rest of the budget season? Do we expect to continue the virtual format for a certain time period, or have we?
It's a great question, and thank you for asking it. So we have gone remote temporarily in the hopes of really limiting in-person contact for our administrators who are at our meetings regularly, for our student representatives, really trying to protect any student community member, school community member, so that we could help the school stay open. We have had some weeks recently with hundreds of positive cases coming through the school. It has not been a small number, but Christy, it's an excellent question. As we're starting certainly to see in a number of metrics indicating that the Omicron variant and the prevalence of that variant is starting to decrease, we will certainly start to reconsider meeting in person. I am going to certainly reach out to the administration and get their input as well, again, because the reason for our choice here was about protecting those folks who we interact with, who then go back into the school the next day. So, and we will certainly keep the community apprised. I will say, I'm guessing, I speak for a number of my colleagues here, I would much prefer to have this public comment in person. I would much prefer to be in a room to see a group of people in front of us. And I look forward to getting back to that approach as soon as we feel like we can do so. And we will let everyone else know as well. Anything else? Excellent. Well, please know we will post any special meeting and communicate any special meeting if we find ourselves adding to the calendar so that we can discuss the budget as a board. If none is posted, we will be meeting on February 7th to discuss as a board this budget. So folks should feel free to tune in if they are interested, and again, reach out at any point with additional comments or questions. Thank you for joining us. I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. John, thank you. A second? Dick, thank you. All in favor? Aye, wonderful. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.